Today, we wanted to talk about something that was kind of viral, something that went viral this week. I will withhold the names to protect the guilty. Um, uh, but if you've been online, you've been on social media, you have seen this viral clip of a very well-known pastor of a growing church. Is the church is starting to bust at the seams, and he said something in this viral clip that uh, was troubling. Was troubling. He said, "Don't blame white cops for killing black people. Instead, teach your children how to obey authority.
Mhm.
Teach your children how to obey authority, and if they obey authority, you won't have these issues, and you have to decide if you're going to operate out of your ego or you're going to learn submission. You're going to learn those things." And there was a great um, uh, outpouring of shock and awe and just outrage about these statements,
Mhm.
and which are completely founded.
Mhm.
And I will say that following this individual's ministry, he is an individual that, for the most part, is on target in his teaching. He's on target with his ministry. But guess what? And High Trees, good to see you on today. Um, Let me say, we all miss it because we're human. We all miss it.
Mhm.
And I'm not on the platform that he is on and get the scrutiny of every day.
Mhm.
But when it's out there, it's out there. And
Mhm.
there's some things that we need to respond to and talk about. Because it is something that we talk about, as he says, teach your children. And, this is what we need to teach our children. And I believe that uh, my response to him or to this situation, that you can be right
Mhm.
and wrong at the
Same
same
time,
time.
yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yes, we teach our children. There are things that we need to teach our children, but at
Mhm.
the same time, um, there's a reason why we cannot full throatedly take that advice. And so that's what I want to talk about today, and how what we teach our children, what we've taught them, and how to interact with authority and things of that nature. So that sound all right? We talk about
Mhm.
that today,
Mhm.
because we I think we did a pretty good job of teaching our children how to deal with authority. uh, One of the first things that we've done with our children, and I think it's kind of a lost art with
Mhm.
young people, is teaching our children to say yes and no, sir,
Mhm.
yes or no, ma'am. I
Mhm.
remember coming up, you just didn't respond yes
Mhm.
or yeah, or if mama called you, you better not say what, you know.
And you didn't call any adult by their first
You
name.
never called an adult by their first man.
No.
Who is Sarah? Who is that? You mean Miss and her last name?
Mhm.
And Teresa's right. I still say we still say call people by their
Last name.
their last names.
Mhm.
As a pastor of a church and a person of authority, I still call people, Mr. and Miss and things of that nature.
Mhm.
Uh, right. We could not do it.
Mhm.
But we have become um um so lax
Mhm.
with that, in that small thing,
Mhm.
in with children and small children. We say it's cute. They call people by their first names and things of that nature. We it trickles down. It that sets the foundation for lack of respect
Mm-hmm.
as they get older.
Mm-hmm. That's where it
Yeah,
begins.
that's where it begins.
Mm-hmm.
So when my don't let your children get away with just saying yes or no or yeah
Or
or
what?
what. No. So sometimes when our
Huh.
children right, if you can you can hear.
Right.
It's just like uh when our children when they slip every once in a while, and when we're calling this and they say yes or yeah, and I'll say yes what,
Mm-hmm.
because you must have forgotten who you were talking to.
Mm-hmm.
Yes sir,
Mm-hmm.
no sir,
Mm-hmm.
no ma'am,
Mm-hmm.
yes ma'am. And we might think that is archaic and whatnot, but it has value. It instills respect in them. What do you think about that?
I agree. And I think it makes a big difference as they grow,
Mm-hmm.
whether in their classroom, but even as they become from elementary students to middle school to high school, how they interact with their teachers.
Mm-hmm.
We're always talking to them and teaching them how to respect those adults that have authority in their life.
Mm-hmm.
There is respect there.
Mm-hmm.
This is how you communicate.
Mm-hmm.
This is how you talk.
Mm-hmm.
This is what you say
Yeah.
and how you say. It's not where you could just say whatever you want to because this is because what you feel.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's not how it
Yeah.
works.
So it used to be that we could not say our parents' first names.
No,
Remember
not at
that?
all.
So you have what's your mama's name? Mama.
Right.
What's your daddy's name? Daddy.
Daddy. Yep.
That's you could not even fathom
Right.
mentioning your parents' name. And so, but what we see nowadays is a lot of young people, and they call their mamas by their name, their daddies by their first name, as little bitty children. And
Mm-hmm.
what happens? We say, "Oh, that's cute,"
Mm-hmm.
or that's and don't realize that we are reinforcing a lack of respect.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is something that is one of the things that we need to do, even starting from a young age. I remember jokingly, when you were pregnant, and while you were pregnant, one of the kids, was kicking. I said, "Don't you be kicking your mama so hard. You better respect my wife. Don't you be
Right.
kicking. Don't you be kicking too
Right.
hard in there." But that is a tone of respect and making sure that you respect elders, you express that you understand that there are levels of authority. So we teach, say yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. And so how you speak to a thing is how you would treat a thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so if we do not have our children respect us by saying yes, no, sir, yes, sir, no, ma'am, yes, ma'am, then what do you think? How do you think they're going to act dealing with other people?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because there's no expectation of respect at home. You can't expect them to treat their teachers with respect, to
Mm-hmm.
teach law enforcement with respect. And
Mm-hmm.
so I believe that is one of the first things that we learn. That's right, Dr. Morris. I wish they would call them by first name.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Mm-hmm.
that is a big no. And that used to be something that was consistent in our community,
Mm-hmm.
but we've gotten lax. There was a respect. There's a reason why in the churches we call brother and sister so and so.
Mm-hmm.
Brother, no, brother Johnson, sister Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
There was a respect even in the house. But once again, if we don't take our children to church,
They'll never know.
They don't learn those nuances. They don't learn that respect that comes
Mm-hmm.
in the house of the Lord. And that's another piece, because we make church optional for our kids.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have that foundation.
Because we let them decide if they
Because
want to
we
go.
let them decide if they want to go, if they
Mhm.
want to go. Growing up, you live in my house, you serve my God.
Mhm.
So that is what we do. I joke all the time that when I was growing up, I was a drug kid. I was drugged to church every single time the church doors was open.
Right. Right.
For Bible study, choir rehearsal, Sunday school, 4 services on Sunday, regardless.
Right.
The 4 services on Sunday when you were part of the choir
Yep.
and you have a
Yep.
previous commitment. So you come in and you sing your first song and then you leave out to go to another church.
Yeah.
We have, and then in some churches they start lying, say we got a previous commitment. They just want to hurry up and sing so they can leave, so they have to stay for the entire service. But we're not going to talk about that. But you don't learn respect if you are not in those settings that dictate that you are respectful.
And I was gonna say that when you said being in settings, just think about what kids see.
Yes.
Because I've worked with children because they mamas cuss and cuss folks out, they cuss too.
Yeah.
And cuss folk out. And so when they get into the classroom or they get in, then they cuss and they act a fool because that is the environment at home. And so in our home, we model even how we talk to each other.
Right.
And even though they are our kids and they are our babies and we love them, but we still talk to them with a level of respect.
Right.
So they understand that it is reciprocal and that just because you are younger, just because you are the kid, it doesn't mean that we just talk to you crazy
Any kind
either,
of way. Yeah.
right? And so one of the things that I'd always teach my children as they're coming up in school is how to be able to advocate for themselves, right, with adults, because adults are not always right. Sometimes they do make mistakes, and this is why the pastor statement is kind of problematic.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that authority, say police officers, was wrong.
Yeah. And we're
right?
gonna
And so but the thing is, because we teach them how to communicate,
right.
and we teach them how to be respectful, it's saying that you don't have to always agree, but there is a right way
Yes.
and there's a wrong way
Yes.
to be able to deal with that situation. So even with us, well, mom, I hear what you're saying, but I don't agree with this. So whatever the case may be, because now we can have some good dialogue.
Right.
We can have some good conversation. Especially with our young boys, teaching them how to be able to advocate for themselves in the classroom.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
If you feel like you got a grade and you did everything you're supposed to do, and it just doesn't seem right, that you can go to that teacher and talk to that teacher in a respectful manner.
That they don't feel threatened.
Where they don't feel threatened. And that's the thing that we have to teach our children, that because now as they've gotten older, now they know that if something is wrong or something's not right, especially in that area of academia, they just not going to accept it.
Right.
They're going to go to that professor,
right,
and they're going to have a, and talk to them and be respectful.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that that's something that's so important, that, we teach our kids how to be able to advocate for themselves, but do it in a respectful way.
Right. But if we are not respectful,
Right.
If, like you said, our children do what they see us do.
Right.
They don't do what we teach them to do. Let me tell you this. Let me say that again. Our children do not do what we verbally teach them to do. They do what they see us do. That's why it's so important that we model respect. That's why, when they talk to us, we demand respect. When we talk to them, we give respect. And so we don't do it too much anymore these days. And also to teach authority and things of that nature. It used to be the children's table and the grown folks table.
Yeah.
On the holidays or Christmas, Thanksgiving, I used to hate being at the kids' table, the little bitty table, but you're not grown. You are a child and you stay in a child's place. That doesn't mean that we respect them, but there are just some things that you are not mature enough to engage with yet. You are not at the level to do that. But once again, we have blurred those lines because unfortunately a lot of our parents ain't too much older than our children.
Yeah. Now that's very
If you
true.
have teenagers raising children, they both at the child's table.
Yeah.
And so we have lost that ability to model respect because our young people don't know respect, and then they're having babies. Our babies are having babies, and they're still haven't our babies that have had the babies haven't gone through the stages of maturity to be able to decipher what is respectful and what is not, because
and the cycle just continues.
and the cycle continues.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna do me. I'm gonna say how I feel. I'm gonna do what I want, and then that's where some of the disrespect creeps in, because once again, nobody wants to be disrespected. And so if you feel disrespected, you're gonna give that disrespect right back. Okay. And so that's one of the things that we do with our children, and modeling respect and how we speak to them, how we speak to one another. Something else that is so important is that we, with my boys, especially with boys and young Black men, I've had to have the conversation, had the conversations with them when they come into contact with them. And Sharon said, yeah, couldn't say why, no, because I said so.
Right.
That was the answer.
Right.
That isn't always the best answer, but it also and let me say this. I say because I say so, and I say it all the time, but I always go back and explain why. Right now, it don't matter why. I said it. Then I'll go back and say, okay, this is why I said it. Because once again, because there are certain lessons that you don't want your children to learn on their own. You want them to learn from you. You don't want it. But if you just say, because I said so, that's going to tell them, okay, I'm gonna go find out for myself exactly why.
Right.
So sometimes, to use the example, if the stove is hot, you tell them, don't touch the stove. Why? Because I said so. Because you don't. Why? And then let them go touch it, and they burn themselves. Well, see, the reason why I told you, because it was hot, you was gonna burn yourself. Now, next time I say, because I said so, you're gonna believe me. And so the lines between the adult, thank you, Sharon, the adult space and the child's place, they've been blurred. Okay. And so one of the things that I've had to teach my sons, especially in light of the clip that went out in dealing with law enforcement, what I tell my sons, just make it home. Just make it home. I can deal with the abuse, the police brutality, or the what do they call it? The profiling. We can deal with any of that stuff, the harassment. We can deal with all of that stuff, but you got to get home to me first. And I want that to stay in your mind. Get home first. Now, in the clip, he made that about submission to authority. That has nothing to do with submission to authority. That's about getting home safe, having your life. Because now, to go back to why this was such a bad clip and bad statement, because the Bible tells us to submit to authority,
Mm-hmm.
but only when that authority is in alignment
With God,
with the
with the
word,
word. Mm-hmm.
with God.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so we cannot put a blanket statement, which was a blanket statement
Mm-hmm.
to if the cops are bad, if you this is going on, if that is going on, you submit to authorities. Let me tell you this: if that was true, that there was a blanket submit to authority, for y'all, for us blacks that are watching this on TV, we would still be slaves
Mm-hmm.
if it was just submit to authority, because submit to the laws of the land, because the laws of the land said we was somebody's property,
That's it.
and they were not going to change on their own.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the laws of the land said that that we could not drink at the same water fountains.
Mm-hmm.
The laws of the land said that we could not go to the same schools.
Mm-hmm.
The laws of the land have said so many things. The laws of the land actually uh, said that Black people couldn't come together and worship.
Mm.
Many of us don't know this. Uh, and let me give you a church history lesson that as slaves were not allowed to worship by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They had to worship, they had to worship with a white overseer watching them worship.
Mm.
Some of y'all didn't know that.
Mm. Wow.
The earliest Black churches were in happened in rebellion of that. They had secret churches out
Mm.
in the woods, out in the forest, where master didn't see. They had them where the master was over and the overseers, but then they had secret church.
Mm.
That was in opposition to the laws of the land.
Mm. Shoot, the civil rights movement.
Once again, the civil rights movement was a statement that says that we have to be in opposition to the laws of the land.
Mm-hmm.
So we cannot have a blanket acquiescence to laws that were not made for us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm putting on my political scientist hat now.
Mm-hmm.
The laws of this nation were made for white heterosexual landowners.
Mm-hmm.
That's who these laws were made for in our country.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why there have been amendment after amendment after amendment
Yeah.
after amendment to our Constitution. Different laws have been put in place. But even though we have certain laws, that doesn't make the laws right.
Mm-hmm.
And so there cannot be a blanket acquiescence to say, oh, because it's the law, this is right, that is right. In a other way, we talked about our sons advocating, our children advocating for themselves in school. Just because the teacher said it doesn't mean the teacher was right.
Right.
And we say this all the time. Because as been an educator, mother's an educator.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Johnny will be acting up in school,
Mm-hmm.
and the parent will not believe the teacher,
Mm-hmm.
because I know my Johnny.
Right.
You know Johnny bad, and you know Johnny bad. but but why do we not uh, uh, believe that authority is right in that setting, but somehow the law is right in this setting?
Mm-hmm.
Authority is right in this setting. There are situations where law enforcement is just wrong. I was watching a clip on YouTube
Mm-hmm.
where there was a family, a man and his wife, girlfriend, and their child sitting in the Applebee's,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and police came looking for some people that were involved in a car accident, that they're in a hit and run. And they came and handcuffed because they were told that they ran into the Applebee's. This man and this woman, they've been sitting here for, and the police handcuffed them and said they were resisting arrest and a whole. And then the people that were actually ran away were in the bathroom.
Wow.
And so do we say just obey authority? Do we say, and we're in a day and age that we have to understand our rights. We have to teach our children when to stand up for themselves, how to stand up for themselves. And because my brothers and sisters, things are not going to get easier, especially for people of color.
Yeah, and they don't teach civics. They don't teach.
They don't teach civics. They don't teach any of that. We're saying they've taken all this stuff out of school. Watch this. In a little bit, they're gonna have people believing that Harriet Tubman was a travel agent, and all she did, you want to go here? Okay, fine. Well, and she wasn't helping people escape slavery. She was a travel agent. No, she was breaking the law. So how can you say, that always, always obey and always submit to authority? We have to understand the context of what's going on in that. But you know what? That's true. Sharon just says again that they don't want us to parent our children these days. That they want our children to be our friends. Who wants to be friends? No, I ain't your friend.
And we have to have these conversations with our kids. Like I know with our boys, all our kids though, we have had these conversations with them, especially as they're in the real world now. They're in college, but we were having these conversations with them even as they were young to help them understand the world that they're in. That this is what's going on around you. Look at the news. Read the paper. Understand what's going on around you. It's more than just the cartoons that you see and your favorite TV show and your friends and things like that. There's a whole world that's going on around you and you're living in it, and you have to be able to understand how to be able to connect with the people that you see, especially now as they've gotten older and there's social media and there's constant conversations about, just because that's what you see in social media doesn't make it right. Some things you might have to investigate a little bit more. Some things you might have to dig a little bit more to really understand what's going on. And this is why you have the right people around you to guide you and to talk to you, to help you understand what you should do and then what you shouldn't do. How do I handle this situation with my teacher? Or I saw someone, deal with a police officer and it was kind of scary. And so having that conversation, because as much as we see stuff like Trayvon Martin and it affected us, having that conversation with them, how do you feel about what you see? And what you've seen, they're seeing this stuff on TV too.
Right.
So we have to have those conversations and then talk to them about, if you're, like you said, if you're in this situation, this is what you have to do. Just get home.
Just get home. Just get home. You know what? And we, and part of that too, I hate to say it, but it's so true, is that we don't have enough fathers that are active and engaged in our children's life. Because to be completely frank, mothers can nurture, but there's a difference when dad teaches respect and authority. There's a respect that mama and grandma and auntie, there's a respect that they can instill, but there's a different type of respect
Mm-hmm.
that a man in a young man's life or a young
Instills,
lady's,
yeah.
like, there's a different type of respect. And uh, the reason why there is a lot of conflict between males, they get them in trouble, they get the police called, or even with police, is because they've never had another man give them instructions.
Mm-hmm.
They've never had another man tell them what to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we had, we're so proud of Jonathan that just he's in AIT now. He graduated from basic training. He's in AIT now, and he didn't have a problem in basic training and following orders and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because he's been following orders since he was in the womb.
Right. Right.
But he's learned that discipline,
Mm-hmm.
and that is something that is so is difficult. And I know I'm gonna get some hate mail about this, but it's very difficult for women to instill discipline. Why? Because women have a natural instinct to be nurturing.
Mm-hmm.
They have a natural instinct to be caring. Oh, don't know what? Don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a, you know, uh, a lot of times mothers say, you know what? Don't be too hard on them.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be too hard on her.
Mm-hmm.
Don't, that, it's okay. And they want to hug and nurture and pat on the back and make them feel better.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, me and some guys were talking about this earlier and said, what we're trying to do, we're trying to raise young men.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to raise men that your daughters would want to marry,
Mm-hmm.
not just young men that you want to be baby daddies,
Mm-hmm.
but young men that your daughters will want to marry and raise families and things of that nature. We're raising young women that you would want your son to bring home, that's not going to give him baby mama drama.
Mm-hmm.
you know that is what we're trying to do, and it takes men and women to partner in that, to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that they're doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But if they don't get it from home first, teachers, by the time they get to school, teachers can't teach respect for authority.
Oh no. Mm-mm.
And sometimes we're expecting teachers to do that,
Yeah, but
but
that's not their job,
that's not
really.
it's not their job. It's
Yeah.
our jobs to do that at home.
Mm-hmm.
And so uh my heart goes out to the pastor that did that. I haven't seen anything that he has made a statement about it. I'm pretty sure that there will be, um, but that's why we have to be so
Careful.
very careful,
Mm-hmm.
and we have to have our antennas up, as we said. We have to have our antennas up to when we hear things like that, and just because the pastor says it doesn't mean that we amen it right away.
Oh yeah.
Because that was the most, one of the troubling things about it, is when he said it, there are so many people that was too quick to amen it. And I'm like, did y'all just hear what he said? But some of us amen stuff because we are biblically illiterate,
Yeah.
you know. And some of us will defend our favorite preacher to the cows come home, because he's our favorite preacher, because he or she made an impact on our lives, because we were blessed by something that they said before. But
Mm-hmm.
that does not make any of us infallible.
Right. Right.
All of us miss it. All of us come up short. And so that's something that we have to be aware of. And uh, I just wanted us to really uh, dig in and really talk about how it's so important to make sure we know the difference between um, submitting to authority
Mm-hmm.
and being wise,
Mm-hmm.
and so that we can fight those injustices in the right way.
Yeah.
Just because you profile me, you handcuff me, uh, I don't have to mouth off at you. It's not because I'm submitting to you. It's because I'm thinking, okay, there's a way to deal with this situation.
Right.
You know, we used to say back in the day, no, wait till I tell my daddy.
Right.
Oh yeah,
Right.
oh yeah. Oh, I'm gonna tell my daddy.
Right.
Unfortunately, there are not enough dads at home for people to go back and tell. Wait till I tell my mama.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we have to have that type of wisdom and understanding that we are submitting to a point where we are we're submitting to the situation, not to the authority, but to the situation. We're wise
Yeah.
because once again, we want to get home.
Yeah.
Because even in the illustration that he gave, he was saying that a police officer had a Glock to his head.
Mm.
Well, at that point, what you gonna do?
Exactly.
You it's it it's not submitting to authority, it's staying alive.
Exactly. There is a difference.
There is a difference.
Yeah.
There's a difference. You know, slaves, uh, they weren't submissive, they were staying alive
Mm-hmm.
till they could figure out a time where they could um, get away. Um, Somebody said I would pray that it wouldn't get to my mom and dad. Right. So right. But that's once again you learned because you had that authority figure. You
Right.
had those authority figures, and so when you got out, you knew how to act.
Right.
And I think and like I said, he was right and wrong at the same time. The message I believe he was trying to convey is that if we teach our children how to act while they're at home,
Mm-hmm.
while they're under our care, if we raise them in the admonition of the Lord, if we teach them the things of God, if we raise them in a way to be respectful, if we raise them and teach them in ways when they get out, they won't act a fool.
Yeah.
That's what he was trying to say. And so that's why I can say he was right and wrong at the same time.
Yeah.
I'm not concerned about how Jasmine is on campus
Mm-hmm.
because we raised her not to act a fool.
Right.
And now she is a person of authority on her campus as she leads her chapter.
Mm-hmm.
And she leads in that same way. Because of the lessons that we instilled in her.
Right.
We're not worried about how Joshua, acts, on campus. He's not going to act a fool.
Right.
And then if he has a question, he's going to call. Sometimes we think he calls too much.
Right.
Dad, what should I do? Mom, what should I do? Because he respects authority. How do I go about that? I'm not worried about Jonathan because Uncle Sam is telling him what to do, and has to respect authority.
Right.
But watch this. But that's how God operates.
Right. Yes.
You are not going to be blessed if you operate outside of biblical authority.
Mm-hmm.
God operates in authority, in levels, in rank. He operates that way.
Yeah.
And so that's the story where Jesus met the centurion and he asked Jairus to heal his daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, you don't even have to come. He says, you don't even have to come to my house. He said, but because I am a man of authority.
Mm-hmm.
And I have soldiers under me. Only thing I have to do is say it, and they do it.
Right.
That they understand authority. God operates the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And so when our children learn how to operate under authority at home, they are able then to be respectful when they're outside of the home.
Yep.
And it puts them in positions to be people of authority.
That's it.
You cannot be a person of authority without learning how to be under authority.
That's it.
It is impossible.
Yeah.
People ask me all the time, how did you become able to become a pastor? How do you become a leader in this? And how did you be able to do this, that, and the other? And my answer is always because I sat down, I shut up, I learned, I listened.
Yeah.
Guess what? I still do it.
Mm-hmm.
Every single day is just about every day. I'm in conversation with my pastor, with my leader, and I'm under authority. I'm a grown man, 52 years old, and I still listen and sit under authority.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so I've learned that. And so there is a thing um, that we have to put in our children, and it starts from a young age.
Age,
You
yeah.
don't start as a teenager trying to
Yeah,
teach
because
them.
that's it.
It's too late.
It's too late.
It's too late. And so anything you wanted to add to that?
No,
That's it.
this is really good conversation. Because I watched a little bit. I didn't watch all of the video.
Some people, they couldn't watch too much because it made the blood boil too much watching it.
Yeah, because it was like, what? Wait a minute. And like when we were talking about this a little bit before, I said, it's not so black and white,
Yeah.
as he made it to be, but there's some gray area there.
Mhm.
But I know how I was brought up to
Mhm.
respect authority.
Mhm.
And because I was brought up that way to be respectful of authority, I raised, my kids to be the same
Mhm.
way. But realizing that even though I was brought up to respect authority, I was never taught how to be able to really advocate for myself
Mhm.
and to speak up for myself.
Mhm.
And so because we come from that generation, be seen and not heard,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so but one of the things that I wanted to do different with my children was, okay, you respect authority, and I'm going to teach you that because that's what I knew. But at the same time, teaching them how to be able to speak up and advocate for themselves
Mhm.
when necessary, and to do it
Mhm.
in a respectful way.
Mhm.
So no, we don't go off, we don't cuss people out, we don't know. There's a right way to communicate
Mhm.
and articulate your feelings in a way that's respectful,
Mhm.
where you can truly be heard.
Mhm.
And so I'm glad that, again, just watching especially the big three and
Mhm.
watching them grow and seeing them now, that those seeds that we've planted in them, now you're seeing it.
Mhm.
Now they're in these situations, in these spaces where they can advocate for themselves.
Right.
They can look out for themselves and still be respectful. They don't raise their voice, they don't cuss, they don't do any of that,
Mhm.
but they do it in such a very professional, very calm, very respectful way.
Mhm.
And I'm grateful for that. But I think that that's something that we do have to really teach our kids
Yes.
to be able to do that. And it's not, well, you just be silent because they're the adult.
Right.
No, because adults are not always
That's
right.
right. Exactly. Exactly.
Adults are not always right. So you have to be able to teach them, how do you navigate that when that happens? What do
Mhm.
you do? How do you, speak up for yourself? How do you advocate when you're in a situation and you're dealing with the police? How do you deal with that?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Police not always right.
They're not. Oh, believe me, they are not always right. But we once again, um, there are certain times that, and I pray that my sons and daughters never have to have interaction, because you never police very rarely come around when something is good.
Right.
So when they're around, that means something negative has happened. And so, what you want to do, and what we have to also understand too, is that police are trying to get home too.
Yeah. And they trying to do their
They're
jobs.
trying to do their jobs, and they're trying to get home too. So, a lot of them will say, "I will shoot you to get home and deal with the consequences."
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to understand that sometimes we have to think for them.
Mm-hmm.
We have to de-escalate them,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but once again, just because you do everything right
Mhm.
does not mean that they're going to do everything right. We could go down, we can go down the list, Philando Castile. We know,
Mhm.
we know the list of the bad cops
Mhm.
that have unnecessarily taken the lives of our young Black men and women.
Mhm.
The list is too long.
Mhm. And we know that there's some good police
And
because we know some.
we right, and we know
So we know that there's some
we
good
know
out there.
there are great ones. There are great ones out
Yeah.
there. But everybody can have a bad day.
Yeah.
And so what we have to do, and I think the lesson in the situation is not necessarily that you are um, uh, that you are not just submitting to the situation, but you're de-escalating
Mhm.
situations. And it's hard to de-escalate in the midst of a stressful situation where emotions are going, your heart is beating, your pulse is racing, and because the harder your heart beats, the blood isn't going to your brain,
Mhm.
is going to the other extremities that are to help you. They talk about the
The
you
fight
fight
or
or flight.
flight. Yeah.
So the blood goes to the other extremities. It's not going to the brain. So
Mhm.
you're not thinking clearly. So we have to drill it in to our young people in a way that it's second nature.
Mhm.
And so we can't, because we cannot think that they will always be rational. And
Mhm.
so that's part of what he said, where he said, I could hear my mama's, my grandma's voice in my head and whatnot. And so that's part of what we do. The voice that I'm hoping that my children would be hearing in their head, it wouldn't be submit to this, submit to it, but just make it home.
Mhm.
Just make it home. I
Mhm.
I know you mad. Just make it home.
Mhm.
I know they're wrong. I know they're treating you bad. Just make it home.
Mhm.
And so if you have not had these conversations with your children or your grandchildren, I implore you to do so.
Mhm.
You got to have these conversations, because
Yeah.
you don't have to do, once again, you don't have to do anything wrong to come into contact with law enforcement.
Mhm.
It could be doing nothing related to you,
Mhm.
but you have to make it. I'm gonna make it home.
Mhm.
I gotta make it home. So whatever I have to do right now, I'm gonna do right now in order to make it home to my mama, to
Mhm.
make it home, to my daddy, to make it home to my grandmother. I got to make it home. We'll deal with it. We're gonna sue the pants off of them later.
Mhm.
But in order for me to do that, I
I need to
gotta
get
I
home.
gotta make it home.
Mhm.
I gotta make it home. So I think, is that a good place to put a pin in it?
Yeah.
That's good. All right.
Yeah.
So we're gonna put a pin in it right here. Uh, Thank you so much for being with us on today. We will be back on next Tuesday. But if you want to see us before next Tuesday, come and see us on Sunday. If you never come and see us, come see us this Sunday.
Easter.
It's Easter. It is Easter. It is Easter. I'm going to be talking about the same spirit. So come see us at Grace Missionary Baptist Church at 16650 Crawford Avenue in Markham, Illinois, the corner of 167th and Pulaski, right off of I-57, across the street from Walmart, the movie theater, big church on the corner. Come
And
and
see us.
see us,
Yes.
and we will see you. So once again, I am Edward Jones IV. This is
Latanya Jones.
and this is the Family First podcast. We'll see you next week. God
See you
bless you.
next week.
See you later.
Go to your Apple or Google Play Store and download the WVTC Gospel Radio app today. You can also say, Alexa, play WVTC Radio Skills.
Would you like to play WVTC Radio Network?
Absolutely. Download it today.
Views made on the preceding program are not those of WVTC Radio, iNetworks Communications, or their financial supporters.
Winning victory through Christ, WVTC, Allsip Chicago, and iNetworks Communications Station.